So we're going to translate any judgment that you might have about someone into gold by using nonviolent communication. Voila! No, I'm kidding, these are just fake golden eggs from the blocker. What I mean when I say gold is that when you translate your judgment with nonviolent communication, it's more likely that you'll be heard, that the other person will want to hear you and actually feel compassionate to you. And second thing is that it's more likely that the other person will want to actually change their behavior. And also it might happen that you will feel even more close to the other person than you did before you had the judgment. And so in nonviolent communication, judgments are very central. They're not to be pushed away or that you have to be enlightened and overcome them or something. We're just going to use them for your benefit and that of the other person. So I'm going to guide you through a 3-step process. All you need is a pen and a piece of paper. So grab those and let's get started. Step 1 is to make an observation. And this means that you're going to describe the situation that triggered you, that created this judgment, in very neutral terms, so without any judgment. That's going to come later. So it helps to kind of pretend that you're a camera that is just registering something without any opinion. So for example, me, this morning I had a judgment about my flatmate, that he was talking too long and he was being vague. And when I have this judgment that my flatmate talks too long, the observation could be something like he was talking for, 6 minutes. And then I also had a judgment that he was being vague. And I guess that's a bit harder. So sometimes you really have to search like, okay, what do I mean with that? And I guess for me it was something like that he was talking about several different topics and I couldn't see how they were related. So that could be an observation as well. So this kind of pinpointing what it was exactly about the situation that triggered you can sometimes already bring a bit of relief or at least give you some clarity about what was bothering you exactly. So if you like, you can now pause the video and write down for yourself about this situation. What was it exactly that triggered you without any judgment? Step 2 is to catch your judgments. So what counts as a judgment? NVC says that whenever what you say kind of assumes that there is a right way to do things and a wrong way to do things, a way to be good and a way to be bad, that's when probably there's some kind of judgment. So for example, with me and my flatmate, when I say that he's talking too long, I assume that there's a right amount of time to talk and a wrong amount of time to talk. And when I say that he's being vague, I kind of assume that there's a right amount of clarity that he should have or something. In MVC, all language that assumes right and wrong is called Jekyll language. And this goes for judgment, but also when I say things which should or have to. Like for example, when I say, when I talk to you, you should put away your phone. Then that also assumes wrongdoing. And you can have Jekylls towards other people, but also about yourself. And I'm going to devote a separate video to this kind of self-judging. So I have a warning before you start, because when I heard about the Jekyll for the first time, I was like, great, okay, so the Jekyll, I need to avoid the Jekyll. The Jekyll is bad, right? And do you see kind of the irony in this? Because actually I'm saying that it's bad to say that things are bad, right? So be careful about this, because actually we're all raised in a way with Jekyll language, but also with this judgment that it's bad to judge. And this is kind of like one of my trainers called this the New Age Jekyll. It's a Jekyll that's saying like, you shouldn't judge, you should be more enlightened and all that. And the reason I want to warn you for that is that in a moment you're going to write down your judgment. And I don't want you to censorize yourself at all. I just want you to kind of celebrate them, just bring them all out. Step 3 is to translate your judgments. So first of all, why would you even want to translate them? Why don't I just say to my flatmate, hey, I think you're talking too long and you're being vague? Well, the reason is 2 things are very likely to happen. First of all, the other person can get very defensive. So when I'm saying you're being vague, then he could say something like, well, you just don't listen and you don't have the patience to actually take the time for me. Something like that. So he might defend himself, and then it's not very likely that he will hear what I actually want to say. Second thing is, and that this is a bit less visible, but it happens a lot as well, is that when I judge the other person starts to judge themselves. So my flatmate could be thinking something like, oh, she's right, I really suck at expressing myself clearly and I'm such an autist, or whatever. And you might wonder why is that a bad thing, because then at least he sees the problem, right? But the thing is that when I share my judgments, I'm probably a bit in pain, right? I'm angry or irritated or sad about something, and I want him to hear this. But when he starts judging himself, he also gets in pain. So that means that there's two people in pain, and there's really no one to listen. So please keep this in mind, that whenever you want to share something, it's really helpful if the other person has space to hear this, and that's why it's helpful to translate your judgment. So how do you do that? In MVC, we say that behind every judgment there's a need. And if you look at this card, you see that there are many, many needs. These are all suggestions. So if I think about my judgment that my flatmate is being vague, I could think that, maybe I want some clarity in what he's saying. And maybe I want some care for my time and energy, because I was feeling a bit bored and not so engaged. But I don't know, it doesn't yet fully resonate with me. Like, when I totally feel super connected with someone, then he can talk for hours and I don't mind. So actually I think it's more about that I want to, when I talk with someone, I want to understand them, I want to have some connection with this person, and then they can talk for hours and I don't mind. So I think it's more about that. I want connection with him, and I didn't manage so far yet to get that in a kind of easy way. So now maybe you can hear I'm sounding a bit softer, like I'm starting to feel compassion to myself, because who doesn't want connection with someone that you live with, right? Okay, so now it's your turn. Look at the card and see which need speaks to you the most. It can be one or it can be several. Mostly it's one or two needs that are really matching with you. And the way to notice this is actually to pay attention to your body, because often when the need really matches with you, you feel either some relaxation or some relief, or maybe some butterflies in your stomach. Maybe it doesn't happen this first time, but if you do it more often, you'll notice that you get more connected with your body. That's kind of giving you this information that, that's actually what I'm longing for. So if you want, you can pause the video right now. You can also actually download this sheet. If you go to my website, cupofempathy.com, you can download it as a PDF, and then you can just print it and bring it everywhere you want. So whatever works is most easily for you right now. So I'll just give you some time right now to look at your need. So now that we took these steps, we can actually start expressing to the other person. So instead of saying to my flatmate, you're being vague and you talk too long, I could say something like, hey, can I say something? I notice I cannot really relate the different things you're saying to each other, and I would actually like to understand you, because so that I feel more connected and more close to you, and somehow I don't know exactly yet how to do it, but I just want to say it so I'm not kind of hiding this. So now, as you can see, it's not about the other person anymore. It's much more about me and what I would like, and it's way more likely that the other person is touched to hear this, or at least wants to have a dialogue. And the funny thing was, for me, like when I was connecting with myself and figuring out what was my need, I actually noticed I already felt more connected to him, because I wasn't judging him anymore. And usually you would, after expressing your need, you would want to add a request, a kind of a concrete request to the other person. And I want to devote a separate video to this, because it's kind of a whole topic in itself, and I want to teach you exactly how to do that very effectively. And one little tip at the end is that if you actually start to express this and start to try it out, please be very patient and very compassionate with yourself, because this is really like learning a new language, and if you start to talk French after one exercise with someone, it can be pretty scary, and it can be sounding maybe a bit robotic, or the other person might be like, what's happening? You can get all kinds of reactions, and it's a more advanced thing how to do this more naturally and all that. So you're gonna get there if you keep practicing.